I've tested the complete Kaleido Colorworks range from Gaahleri, primary colors, automotive, Mecha Colors and more. These pre-thinned acrylic paints are supposed to match the atomization and durability of a lacquer paint, but without the solvents or the smell. A lot of YouTubers are raving about Gaahleri products, but I do wonder how much of it actually holds up and what's just hidden advertising. Here comes my honest and 100% spoon-free review. Many creators on YouTube seem to love Gaahleri airbrushes and paints. But you should know that Gaahleri runs aggressive influencer marketing and showers even smaller channels with products. A while back I tested the Mobius and GHAD airbrushes on Tale of Painters, and frankly, in terms of build quality and atomization, they can't magically compete with brands in the $100, $200 and above bracket, whatever some reviews might suggest. They're great entry-level and budget airbrushes, nothing more, nothing less. The new high-end Aventus range might be a different story, but I haven't tested those yet. So in this review I want to find out whether the Kaleido Colorworks paints are really as groundbreaking as claimed, or whether that's been somewhat over-exaggerated. And yes, I'm aware that I'm also a kind of influencer and receive products for testing. But I don't make myself dependent on individual paint brands or accept sponsorships from them. If you know my channel, you know I always test the latest paint ranges honestly and without bias. I've been writing for the hobby magazine Tale of Painters for over 15 years, and I've been painting Warhammer and scale models for even longer. I'm a real paint nerd and I run the Stahly swatch system, the only collection of hobby paint swatches with real hand-painted color samples. But enough preamble, let's get into the testing. First, I run some spray tests on actual models and test the atomization for zenithal base coats and detail work. Second, I compare the metallics and the pearlescent colors from the Automotive range against Vallejo metal color. Third, I'll check how well the Mecha Color range matches Gundam Color and whether the durability holds up for panel lining and masking. And at the end you'll get my honest verdict, comparisons with other airbrush ranges and possible alternatives. Let's go! Here I have an Orc Boy from the Warhammer 40k starter set, and I'm priming him with matte grey primer straight from the bottle at around 30 to 40 psi through my trusty Mr. Hobby PS 289 with a 0.3mm nozzle. A solid mid-level workhouse airbrush that I use across all my reviews for consistency. The primer sprays beautifully and the self-leveling properties are fantastic, no thinning needed. A very crisp and smooth finish, but with enough grip for washes in contrast style paints. Here's a Space Marine I sprayed with the matte black primer, and I think this will become my new go-to primer. Gaahleri also has a glossy primer meant for metallic and chrome paints. Next I sprayed the Marine with magenta from the primary color range. Kaleido paints come in 20ml dropper bottles. You can buy them individually on the Gaahleri website or in various sets. The 24 color sets each include a generous bottle of thinner and cleaner. At the time of this video there are 48 primary colors, plus 48 automotive colors, 48 mecha colors and 12 metallic and 12 transparent clear paints. The paints come pre-thinned and spray very well straight from the bottle, really no additional thinner or flow improver needed. I'm still using a 0.3mm nozzle, but lowered the pressure to around 25 psi. One thing you must know, Kaleido paints have a high gloss finish. Brands from the tabletop world like Vallejo Game Air and Warpaints Air have a more matte finish. Gaahleri have a few matte paints too, but as of now only 12 in the primary colors range. Here you can see the blue in its regular and matte versions. More may come in the future. Gaahleri are very prolific and have just announced the Omni Paint range, a hybrid paint focused on brush painting. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to test those too. Now, I want to find out whether the atomization really can compete with lacquer-based paints. I take the black primed Space Marine and spray a zenithal highlight in white. To get a super fine spray pattern, I mix in a drop of thinner and push the pressure up to just under 50 psi. The result is genuinely impressive. Alongside the Green Stuff World airbrush paints, this is the best I've seen from any water-based acrylic. Please note that my camera lens is extremely sharp, so the model looks even smoother to the naked eye. Let's see how Kaleido performs at low pressure. Here I have a Terran Marine from the StarCraft TMG. I'm spraying it black, not with the primer but with the regular black, because Gaahleri promise adhesion and durability comparable to a lacquer paint. And indeed, you can spray these paints directly onto bare plastic without too much issue. For the highlights, I mix black with grey. Unlike tabletop paint brands, there's no coordinated dried system for shading and highlighting. The range focuses more on basic colors, which means you often need to mix your own shade and highlight colors yourself. Historical colors are also pretty much non-existent. For the final highlights, I use pure grey, switching to my Mr. Hobby PS270 with a 0.2mm needle at around 15 to 20 psi. With other brands, I'd usually add a little thinner and flow improver at low pressure to prevent tip dry. But the Kaleido paints are already quite fluid, so that isn't necessary. I want to paint the shoulder pads red, so I mask off the surrounding areas with airbrush putty. Kaleido paints are dry to the touch after 5 to 10 minutes or so, but they need a little curing time to reach their full durability. So I'd recommend waiting an hour or two before masking. The base color for the shoulder pads is russet. Looking at the reds, I noticed that most primary colors have very high saturation and purity, but more of an average covering power as a result. You can see that with the shine red highlight. I need several coats to build up the color. With tabletop paints, it's often the other way around, where additional pigments and extenders are mixed in to boost coverage at the cost of a little saturation. If you want to compare them yourself or convert your existing colors to Kaleido equivalents, check out my hand-painted Kaleido color swatch. I sprayed every color onto primed plastic card and professionally digitized them. Much more accurate than Gaahlerie's chart and fully compatible with all my other swatches in my 7-in-1 color matching document with over 1,200 hand-painted samples. The swatches are available for a small donation on my Patreon, which helps me to keep them up to date and deliver free updates to existing swatches when new colors launch. Right, you've now got a solid feel for the strengths and quirks of the Kaleido paints. Let's find out whether the metallics from the Metal and Automotive color range are up to the competition and whether they can even rival the popular Vallejo metal colors. Here I have a Stormcast Eternal and I'm spraying her with flashy gold from the Metal color range. This currently covers 12 colors, various gold, silver and copper tones. The Automotive range also adds a few more extravagant metallic paints, which I'll get to shortly. The result is stunning. Super fine particles and a beautiful sheen, a very intense orange gold. Truly top notch. Here I've also sprayed a Stahly test model with silver, equally beautiful and realistic. A few of the metallics do have a slightly grainier, sparklier finish though, like gunmetal here, which I'm less keen on. Comparing it against gunmetal from the Vallejo metal color range makes the difference clear, though fortunately it only affects a handful of colors. The gold, as I said, is excellent. The Automotive range contains some additional tinted and colored metallics. The range currently covers 48 colors, a mix of regular gloss paints matched to classic Automotive factory colors, metallics and semi-metallic finishes. Here are a few examples. The lustrous orange and the metallic racing red have a very supple, pearlescent-like sheen that I haven't seen from other manufacturers before. You can create some really interesting effects with these. Then there are more true metallics, though most of them, like this blue, are fairly subtly tinted. The colored metallics from the Vallejo True Metallic Metal range are a bit more punchy in comparison. You can check the full selection in my hand-painted Kaleido swatch, where you can see exactly how each color looks in real life. There are also 12 clear paints, essentially transparent inks. These are primarily for candy coating. You spray the paint, in this case clear red, over a light silver or gold to create an incredibly intense tint. This red here would be perfect for Heresy Era Thousand Suns, for example. But there's more, because Gaahleri has dedicated a complete sub-range to Gunpla and Mecha builders. Can these hold up against the popular Gundam colors and markers? Let's find out. Currently, there are 48 Mecha colors in 2 sets designed to match the characteristic Gundam color palette. The included leaflet has a 1-to-1 conversion table to Mr. Hobby's Gundam color, though personally I never fully trust those charts, which is exactly why I started the Stahly swatch system. Let's see what the color match is really like. I spray this wing panel with cool white straight over the bare plastic without primer. Already looks close to the white of the plastic. For the blue details I apply masking tape. As mentioned earlier, the paint needs enough time to cure before applying tape or putty. I picked the darkest blue in the Mecha range, aiming to match the blue of the plastic as closely as possible. Then I repeat the process for this detail, going with the classic Gundam yellow. Of course, you can also paint smaller details like this using a brush. Kaleido brushes just like regular acrylic hobby paints and doesn't become gummy or so. They are just quite thin, as they are pre-diluted for airbrush use. Here's the result. A pretty good match, though the yellow from the primary color range would probably have been an even closer match for the yellow plastic. To be fair, hitting an exact color match for color correcting parts is nearly impossible. Here's another wing panel I painted with markers from DSP IIA, and those aren't a 100% match either. So I would say the Mecha color palette definitely reads as Gundam, and with 48 colors there's plenty of choice to fine-tune your paint job. But if you want no color differences at all, you'll need to paint the kits completely rather than just picking out parts. The same is true for Gundam colors though. Gaahleri also promises that the paints are durable enough for panel lining. Let's put that to the test using Gundam pore markers and the fairly aggressive Tamiya panel liner, which is enamel based. The high gloss finish of the Kaleido paints definitely helps. The panel liner flows in nicely. For removing the panel liner after it has dried, both White Spirit and odorless thinner work without stripping the paint. Lacquer-based paints like Gundam Color contain solvents and come off very quickly with White Spirit or alcohol, so this is a real advantage for Kaleido. However, the pore marker could only be removed with the eraser marker, and unfortunately this melts the paint. So, test your chosen panel liner on a spare part beforehand and allow the paint to cure sufficiently first. Right, so far so good. Before I share my conclusion and where the Kaleido range sits against other airbrush paints, please smash the like button if you got something out of this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as I have all the latest hobby paint reviews to help you level up your game. I promised you an honest and critical review at the start, and I have to say, Gaahleri haven't overpromised here. These paints really do spray almost as smoothly as lacquer paints, don't need extra thinning, and the durability is excellent, even on bare plastic. The primers are fantastic, and the metallics, with a few exceptions, can hold their own against metal color. The pricing is also competitive, and there are regular discount promotions on the Gaahleri website and on Amazon. If you want to airbrush vibrant, high-gloss colors, then this is your paint range. I'm giving Kaleido a very solid 8.5 out of 10. But be aware, the color palette and the gloss finish cater primarily to car and Gundam modelers. The primary colors are somewhat universal, but specific tank and aircraft colors are completely absent right now. Maybe that changes with future releases or the Omni range. For historical painters, Vallejo Model Air remains the classic choice, even if the formula is starting to feel a little dated. For tabletop painters, I would lean towards the Green Stuff World airbrush paints or Vallejo Game Air, which have a more matte finish and a more fantasy and sci-fi oriented color selection. Green Stuff World is pretty much on par with Kaleido in terms of spray pattern. You'll find more airbrush paint reviews on my channel, so make sure to also check out my Game Air review for comparison, where I tested the updated 2024 formula over 2 years in a long-term review. Thanks a lot and happy hobbying!